Straight night, part 2 of their home and home series. This one looked like it was all but over late in the fourth quarter here, Brian. We're going to pick this one up with 4 minutes left. OKC up 14 at this point. Anthony Edwards turns it over. The Thunder coming back the other way. OKC now leads by 16. In the last 20 seasons, teams are 1-9,249 when trailing like that with less.
Ant went to the bench. It was sort of a white flag, I thought.
Right, and the Timberwolves, by the way, they were involved the last time a comeback like this happened. They were on the wrong side of it. The Kings, they erased a 17-point deficit in the final 3 minutes to beat the Timberwolves. Would history repeat itself? Well, the Timberwolves, they could not be contained. Rob Dillingham, Shams, with Anthony Edwards on the bench, cuts the lead to 5.
The Young Bucks are stepping up.
And then Jayden McDaniels drives, finishes the layup, plus the foul. After the free throw, Tim McMahon, game tied at 1:21 here. So the next Oklahoma City possession, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, usually he's money on this, but he misses the floater. And Nickeil Alexander-Walker gets the rebound, goes coast to coast, but can't get the game winner to go. So we would send it to overtime. Minnesota, Tim, would go on a 16-0 run.
And Ant was watching the whole thing, nursing a little sore calf on the bench during that stretch.
Well, they decided to put him back in when they thought that this game wasn't a white flag one anymore. Naz Reid, not quite. Don't worry, though. He gets another chance here.
Helped by a guy off the bench.
Great pass by Ant.
Naz Reid can't quite get that one to go there. A little bit of a mess, but Reid would make both free throws here to take the lead here. But this was the game-sealing play. SGA blocked by Anthony Edwards.
All that matters.
Terrence Shannon Jr. controls the rebound and is fouled after this. Just another look at this game-saving block here by Edwards. Shannon would make both free throws. So then 6 seconds left here. The Thunder down by 3. Edwards picks up SGA. Forces a really tough shot here that's no good. So Minnesota completes the comeback, 131-128. One of the best comebacks I have ever seen. But Ant, you gotta remember, my friend, the mic is hot.
Gentlemen, we're on live now. We're on air now, Ant. We just tied the largest comeback in team's history. It was the biggest team win we have seen to take us through this one.
Ask them. I mean, them boys played. I can't say what they played, but they played their butt off.
We took our foot off the pedal, obviously, defensively especially. Offensively, they were trapping me at half court, and we got a lot of good looks. They just didn't go in. And that's basketball.
Shout out to Finchie, man. He made a great adjustment as far as just going to blitz Shai. I mean, because that's what they did to me all night. So they got a taste of their own medicine.
That was just tremendous top to bottom post-game sound. Teams had lost over 1,500 consecutive games when trailing by 24 plus in the fourth quarter before the Timberwolves comeback last night. Tim Legler, he's joining us now. This type of comeback, Tim, is a shock against any team, but especially the Thunder. They've been so dominant in fourth quarters. Legs, what impressed you the most last night?
All right, a couple things. Let's talk about Minnesota's perspective first. I think just the fact they kept playing. I mean, a lot of teams, second night back-to-back, down 20 on the road in the fourth quarter against that team, you're taking everybody out, not just Anthony Edwards. So the fact that they just kept playing, most teams wouldn't. That trap we talked about was really more like an extended 2-2-1 zone where those top two guys were just absolutely blitzing Shai at half court. They missed a bunch of shots on the wings. You got to make some of those shots and convert them. I thought the defensive adjustment was critical. But now let's look at it from Oklahoma City's standpoint. And where did they go wrong? To me, it was the fouling. They put Minnesota on the line 14 times in the fourth quarter, 8 more times in overtime. That's 22 free throws in 17 minutes. That's really where this went off the rails for Oklahoma City because they allowed Minnesota to score without the clock running and enabled them to set that defense. So, to me, the fouling was very uncharacteristic of their defense. I think that's what Shai was alluding to.
Yeah, whenever you see a collapse, you often see a couple of things different things happen. Obviously, the fouling. Terrence Shannon, their rookie, played some of the best minutes of his career.
Dillingham, too.
But I will say, Dillingham for sure. I will say that the takeaway from this game is that zone defense that the Wolves brought out. It was incredibly impressive. And the trapping. And now I would say that teams that are getting ready to play the Thunder going forward are going to install that because that was something that they struggled with. And I would just say for Minnesota, while this is essentially a one-off game, like you're not going to see this one out of every 9,000 times or whatever you said. The Timberwolves are going to get as far as their defense takes them.
Right.
Last year, they were the top defensive team in the league, and they were essentially the top seed in the West. This year, their defense has slid, and they've slid down the rankings. They've had injuries, of course. But Minnesota's way to get back to the top of the West is playing great defense, and even if it's not in scramble mode like they were last night.
And then after that game, oh, go ahead, Shams.
Yeah, I think the positive that I've taken from Minnesota the last several weeks, you've been without Julius Randle, been without Dante DiVincenzo. They've relied on 3 rookies, really first-year players to play big roles. That's Rob Dillingham and Terrence Shannon Jr. the last few weeks. And then, obviously, Jalen Clark, he started last night. He's been big for them as well. And when I look at those 3 guys, they're young. They bring versatility. They allow them to play zone defense. This was a veteran-laden team last year. They played all their vets. And Chris Finch is known as a guy that really relies on his vets. Now he's got an infusion of young guys that he can rely on while they wait on the arrivals of Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo, both day-to-day right now.
Day-to-day, okay.
And the Timberwolves are a team, they struggle to protect big leads in the fourth quarter. They're damn good at rallying, though. This is some new guys in the mix there. This Timberwolves team, though, pulled off one of the most amazing comebacks in NBA playoff history last year, coming back from 20-some-odd down in a Game 7 in Denver to eliminate the defending champs. And I ran into the Chris Finch, the Timberwolves coach.
The Chris Finch.
Yeah, I ran into him this morning. They're in L.A. now.
Yep.
You know, he's floating a little bit. He said, I probably waited a little bit too long to throw the trap at SGA. I said, no, I think you got to it just in time.
Right.
And then Anthony Edwards got back in the game after nursing that calf just in time. And this is one of the most amazing blocks that probably you will see all season long. The second most impressive, most spectacular defensive play of Anthony Edwards' career, behind only that chase down block where the guy sealed the win in Indiana last year, hit his head on the rim with this chase
Just in
down
case you
block.
forgot.
Yeah, this one. Any chance to show this video?
The explosion off
will.
the ground is still unbelievable a year later.
And as Finchy told me, Ant has a way of just taking it to another gear.
Yep.
In moments like this, you saw that last night, and certainly that is Exhibit A right there.
And they're going to need it because Ant said this has been a little bit of a roller coaster season for them. They want to get back to the Western Conference Final, and so far this hasn't been the clear Western Conference Final looking team, but perhaps last night can serve as a little bit of a spark plug for them. That was the game of the night. But this evening, we have a monster matchup right across the street from us. Tonight, it marks the first of 2 times that Luka will face the Mavericks here. And history tells us that a motivated Luka is a scary thing. You remember this? Back in 2020 in the bubble versus the Clippers, they roughed up Luka a little bit earlier in the series, right? But then, in Game 4, Luka had 43 points, 13 assists, and 17 rebounds en route to this iconic game-winning shot to tie up the series. And then 2 years later, Luka, down 3-2 to the Suns, had the, everyone acting tough when they're up. The Mavs ended up taking the series in 7, and it was the birth of the Luka Booker meme seen around the world. A little sort of smirk that you see right there. And then last season, Luka taking things personally versus Rudy Gobert and the Wolves. Takes a hard foul, then later in the game, hits the game winner, and absolutely lets Rudy hear it. The Mavs took the series in 5. So, McMahon, given that that's what we've seen from Luka here in some revenge games, what do you expect from him tonight?
I think he's going to speak some of that Slovenian that he let Rudy Gobert hear. He's going
Jeza. That's the Slovenian for wrath. I looked it up.
Oh, I was going to say, can we say that on television? Okay.
I know Pivo's Slovenian for beer. He might enjoy a couple after this if he has the kind of performance I think he might have tonight.